Hey, Shane Button joined by a 19-time CMAO winner, back-to-back Female Artist of the Year at the CCMAs, Juno Award winner, 115 million stream songwriter, singer, superstar, Meghan Patrick. Hey, Meghan, how you doing?
Wow, that was quite an intro. Thank you. But most importantly, I have a winning personality.
You got about a lot of accolades. I think people need to hear that.
Well,
Um,
thank you.
I mean, it's been a pretty good year. Obviously, Golden Child did very well for you, top 25 at radio. I think the Canadian country Billboard charts was a top 10, if I'm not mistaken, as a
It
single as well,
was.
right?
And we are sitting at 19 this week in the US, so we've got our first top 20 record.
Wow. How does that feel? I mean, so I know you probably spent a lot of time in Nashville writing. You got the dual citizenship. How does it feel to be
Mhm.
getting that recognition now from both of your countries?
It feels amazing, and I just wanted to be able to represent Canada well down here in Nashville and in the US. Let them know, hey, we make great country music too. And I just see it all as it's just expanding my career and my opportunities, giving me more places to tour, more fans to make. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. I'm very grateful.
Well, when you talk about touring, you're going to be, this has got to be a bucket list, I would imagine, getting to open for Brad Paisley when he comes through Canada. If
hmm
that doesn't put some eyeballs on some of his people and maybe on him to get you more stuff down in the States, I don't, I don't know what will, but
Yeah.
what's the vibe feeling like as you prepare for opening for a guy that's one of the greatest of all time, in my opinion?
Yeah, we just finished out with him this past weekend in Ottawa. It's been an incredible tour, and we did actually already book another show with him in the US for next year. So I guess I impressed him, and it was incredible. Getting to get up on stage with him every night and sing Whiskey Lullaby, one of the most iconic songs of all time in country. And it was definitely a milestone pinch me moment in my career. So yeah, I'm super grateful to him and his whole team. They took great care of us.
So, have you had a chance to, and maybe it's too new, but the new single that's coming out next year, did you get a chance to preview that in any of your shows while on that tour? Or is that still kind of, hey, it's up online a little right now, you can go and listen to it, but is it only just out there for people to hear?
Yeah, we did play Safe Place to Break this past weekend in Ontario and teased it a little bit, and we started teasing it a bit on socials. I'm super excited for everybody to get the actual recording. It's one of my favorite recordings I've ever made, and the band killed it. So yeah, January 9th. Make sure you pre-save it.
There you go. So when you talk about that, where do you when you're sitting to think about writing what you're going to write and how you're going to come up with, whatever the content is going to be. I mean, most of the best country songs come from real life experience, right? I think that's what is relatable. But this one specifically, what was the genesis of it? How did it come to be? And how long of a process was it?
Well, I actually wrote this song like 7 years ago
Oh wow.
when Mitchell and I first started dating. And well, it was actually partially inspired because when I gave my acceptance speech at the CCMAs, Mitchell was there. It was the first time I brought him to the CCMA. So I want to say it was 2018, maybe. And when I was thanking everybody in my speech, I thanked him and I said, thank you just for believing in me and for being my safe place to break. And I had several text messages from a few songwriters like, we just saw your acceptance speech. Are you going to write that song? Is that a song? And so I did end up writing it. And I think for me, as somebody who spent so much of their life having to be, the tough girl, the do it herself girl, the nothing phases me, as somebody who grew up feeling that like if I showed emotion or I cried, or I was vulnerable, that was seen as a weakness that, could be used against me. And, Mitchell was the first person that was like, no, I'm not going to like use this against you. I'm going to hold you down through it. Like, I want you to be able to feel comfortable and safe to break down in front of me and, be vulnerable in that way. And that was just incredibly healing to me in a way I never thought was even possible. And, interestingly enough, I think I'm glad that I waited to release the song until now because I think it actually has so much more depth and meaning to it. in terms of where we are now in our relationship versus back then. You know, we've been through it, and we've come out on the other side stronger. So I think especially, specifically a lot of couples that have been together a long time and, made it through hell and back are going to really relate to it. And I think also for the people who are maybe just meeting that person and having that feeling for the first time, and it's like being able to finally breathe after, years of being hurt or abused or taken advantage of. It's like a weight off your shoulders.
Yeah. So, real quick before I wrap this up, I know you're really busy and you got to go, but what was the reason for the delay? Like, how for waiting so long to put this song out? Was it just it didn't feel like it was done per se, or was there more to it?
I think, it was a few things. I get very intuitive about songs, and when I'm making records, and I really do go off of gut feelings of like, does this fit? Is this the right time for this song? Does it make sense with the other songs on this record? And I think a big part of it though also was just musically and sonically, the way the demo was that we did when we first wrote it. It was very poppy and just not really aligned with what I was trying to do sonically. So a big part of it was also trying to figure out, okay, how do we kind of revamp this musically? Because I loved the lyrics, I loved, the melodies and the bones of it. It was just the production and the instrumentation and all of that. And so I went into my producer and I was like, I feel like I want to approach this like, what would Chris Stapleton do with this song? And we really just completely stripped it back and took a much more kind of soulful, organic approach to it. And I was like, when we finished it, I'm like, that's why. That's why I'd never cut this song until now, because it needed to be this. And it might not have turned into this if I had tried to force releasing it sooner.
Right. I think hey, if you're going to base anybody's production off of anybody's production, Chris Stapleton's not a bad way to go. He's had a little success, just a little
Hmm.
bit.
For
Well,
sure.
I appreciate your time. I'm cognizant of the crazy busy media day you've got going on
Yeah.
today. But is there anything else? One last thing you want to put out there for anybody? I know January 9th is when people can expect to start hearing this. Anything
Yep.
else you want to plug or push or promote?
Um, just make sure you pre-save the new record and stay tuned for some more touring next year as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Megan. I appreciate your time today.
Awesome. Thank you.